All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Once again, thank you so much for hopping on and joining our SkySlope Masterclass. Now, today's session is for my admin. We actually have not started our agent courses quite yet for our master classes. We're going to start off with a few admin courses. So welcome. If you are an agent, I recommend hop off, join us for a later master class, something that you'll have a little bit more visibility to. Today is for my admin only. I am your host. My name is Kira Christensen. I'm part of the learning and development team here, and today I'll be your tour guide. Now, today's topic will be managing our SkySlope property files. So we'll break up our training here by talking about the different types of files in SkySlope. I'll highlight our stages feature. So this is a fun feature available if you're not currently utilizing. Definitely recommend to really assign out roles and responsibilities. We'll talk about when it's appropriate to close a property file and how to do so efficiently. And what happens after the close? Where do our property files live and what features do we still have access to? So without further ado, we'll hop right into my SkySlope demo account. Once again, this is going to be geared for my admin. So if you do not have a broker or an admin account, your layout might look a little bit differently. I'll be sure to highlight the features for the differences within the accounts. So feel free to follow along with me. I'll let you know, hey, you might not see this, no worries, but everything that I cover here today, if you are in that admin role or just simply assisting with the movement of these property files, this will pertain to you. So starting off in familiar home base here. Now, first thing to note, up at the top, we have our status bar. Now, this is simply going to indicate all of really the action happening within our property files for the month. So this is a nice quick overview on what's to come. Now, maybe you're an admin and you've got a couple of offices that you're working with. Reminder that you can always filter your offices. Let's say today I only want to work with, let's say, the Beverly Hills team. If I select Beverly Hills, you'll notice up at the top, I don't have those giant numbers I was looking at before. This is much more specific to this Beverly Hills grouping. All right, let's switch it back to the all so that we can really play with all types of property files. But remember that filter as you're moving through. Let's talk about the different types of property files here within SkySlope. Now, first, of course, we have our listings and our transactions. Let's go ahead and pop into our listings. And there's really two types of listing files that you'll see. And the status that I'm referring to here is this third menu. Now you'll notice that I have an active status. Now this is just simply indicating that this listing has not passed that expiration date. I can read it right across that I have this listing agent, I've got the office, and this is the date that I'm referring to. So since today's date does not surpass this here, it will remain in that active status. And that is as simple as it is, guys. We are just not exceeding that expiration date. That is going to control this status here on your property files. Let's go ahead. Let's change the order of these files here because our other status that we're going to notice is this expired listing. So I can see my listing agent, Brad Pitt. Maybe this listing did not really go very far. He took off, he started another movie, whatever the case might be. But I can see this as an expired listing. And that is simply because, again, today's date passes this expiration. Very easy to update property files. Let's say that expiration date is pushed out. No problem. We know things happen all the time, so we're just going to pop into this very first listing tab. I'll take a look down here where I can easily reference the information going on. I've got that listing price, that source selected. But what I need to do, of course, is update. Oh, wait, let's see here. There we go. Update those listing dates. So right here is going to give me the ability to push this guy right on out, or let's even update this to after the holidays. Perfect. Let's go ahead and push that expiration date out. If I hit next, this is going to save my progress. Perfect. Easy reference. I can now see that this Shadow Tree Drive property is now marked as active. So it's as simple as that, guys. If you notice that that property file has passed the expiration date and that status has updated accordingly, go ahead, update the listing dates within that file to update the status. Now that it says active, I am happy. This reflects accurately for my brokerage. So let's go ahead, bring ourselves right on back to that SkySlope home base and do the exact same thing here under our transactions. Now, of course, we know listings do not have a close of escrow date. So oftentimes we do see that listings are quite a bit more flexible. However, with the transaction, we know that an escrow date has been assigned. So very similar process when I click into my transactions. I'm going to notice two statuses. Once again, I have this pending status letting me know this is on task. We are moving right along. I know Miss Angie here, she's a phenomenal agent. She is going to complete out these items prior to the close date. As long as that is accomplished, this will remain in that pending status, and this will remain a nice clear file. Now, I'll also notice Miss Angie down here, same agent, she has this expired property. Looks like very recently expired, and I still see these 10 incomplete items. Now, admin, here is where you really have some options. With these 10 incomplete items, I can either choose to leave this property file with this expired status, let Angie know that there is still work to be done. SkySlope will actually automatically email your agent, letting them know, hey, your property file's marked as expired. Either update those dates or turn in those items because we would like to pay you on time. So that always tends to light a little bit of a fire. So we want to ensure that we get those documents in prior to that close date. And we can also use our closed transactions to be archived as more of a subsection. Now, let's say even after the close, your brokerage still requires a few documents, or maybe you'd like to use this section here as what we sometimes refer to as file jail. Now, I know that adds this little negative connotation on the end, but really what we're implying is, hey, you have this property file. It does have this closed status indicating we have passed the close of escrow, but we still have these incomplete items. So it's your preference as an admin if you would like to hold on to that. Let's scroll right on back up. That expired status and let SkySlope send over an email, or you can drop it into that little subsection, closed transactions to be archived, so you can keep a close eye on it, capture those remaining documents, and then of course, close it out when the time comes. Speaking of closing it out, let's first touch on our stages, and then we'll come right back to this page here, and we'll actually close this expired property file. Now, I am referring here to this stage. So we have our status, which is reflecting the current status of the property file, but we also have stages. Now, this is solely a filter option for you. Let's say you've got a handful of admin. You like when they are in there as well, assisting, working through these files, but it's always nice to see when a file has passed a certain stage. So this is going to be an internal setup. What you can do, scroll down here a bit, is I can locate underneath my name up at the top, and I can hop into this admin setting. I'm going to notice, of course, using the tabs up at the top of my page here, the ability to manage stages. And we'll see what my templated stages are in here, but you can get very custom with this. So right away, I've created stages. So when I create a property file in SkySlope, it's automatically going to fall under this listing stage name. Let's say that my agent makes some progress, moving right on through, turning in documents for review. I have conducted that initial coordinator review. So once that progress has been made, we can switch that stage, letting our initial coordinator know they can step in and conduct that audit. Of course, once that's taken care of, maybe they're moving towards the close of the sale, they'll be able to update these stages accordingly. And again, the verbiage here is completely custom to you. So let's say I've got Shannon on the call here today. Let's say Shannon happens to be an admin that I work alongside of. We might want to create 2 stages, Kira's stage and Shannon's stage, so that when my review is complete, I can just go ahead, update that label, and Shannon knows that she can hop right in, do whatever action is necessary there, or possibly conduct a review of her own. Now, the reason why I like to highlight our stages feature is this is going to definitely come in handy when you're closing your property files. Keep in mind, it gives you the ability to set a default stage. Any created property file will automatically have that label. You can edit accordingly, you can remove, and again, you can customize this completely. But let's jump right back into that transaction tab. Once again, taking a look at the status, that is a direct reflection of that closing date, but I'll also see this stage. So I know right away, this property here from Angie, if this guy was ready to be closed, I can confirm my broker has approved it and it's ready for pay. I've got Miss Oprah here, same thing, she's ready to pay out as well. I've got Alexa ready to go. But I might be the compliance broker. I might need to hop in, conduct that review before it gets this label. Now I'm still going to use this expired file for our example for closing today. So let's go ahead and click right into it. Again, I always like to highlight that stage is just simply a label. So it allows you to create custom labels, which you can update underneath this checklist tab. You'll see I have a drop-down menu here, so it allows me to select which stage I feel is most appropriate for this property file. And once we have reached the close of that escrow date, I will go ahead and do so as that admin by dropping down that transaction actions menu and choosing to close this transaction. Now, we always want to close our property files on the correct date, simply because when we pull reporting from our SkySlope account, which we'll cover in an upcoming masterclass, you'll want those dates to reflect accurately. However, you as an admin have the ability here to either archive or leave this unchecked and not archive this property file, but we can still close it out. Now, if I choose to not slide that toggle on, I'm going to notice that expired file is no longer in this top section here. I've got all pendings, but instead it is now going to be found underneath, here we go, in that closed transaction to be archived. So I have this property here. I can essentially keep it in this to be archived section until those incomplete items have been turned in. If I had chose to slide that toggle on, my property file would land within my archives from that home base. Now this Boxwood Sacramento, let's say, yes, we have passed that close date. We are ready to pay this out. I can choose to archive that transaction. And SkySlope will ask me, are you sure? Just confirming that any notes left by the admin, any notes left by those auditors have been cleared. I'll hit submit, my page will refresh, and that property is no longer underneath this to be archived section. So again, guys, I know I moved a little bit quickly, but I want to be respectful of your time. In order to archive a transaction from this subsection here, you of course can do this from the checklist tab as well. These are still full functioning files. However, I use my little quick archive transaction button to the right side here. So if you have a handful of documents, just like, or I should say files, just like I do here, that I need to clear out, you can do that a little bit quicker by using that quick action button on the right. All right, so once again, guys, we've got that pending status. We are moving right along, completing out these documents, working towards that close date. When that close date hits, you then have the option to drop it into to be archived, or when we come into that home base here, we can archive out those property files for safekeeping. Now here within SkySlope, we are your virtual filing cabinet. So it's really our job to ensure that you always have access to anything that you've saved here within your property files. So even in my archives, I still have the ability to jump into that Documents tab, reference any information in that, set of tabs up at the top there. The only difference is I will not be able to turn in documents for review. Once a property file lands here in our Access archives, that simply means that those documents have been reviewed by the admin team. The agent can still upload documents into that property file. They will just not land in your Documents to Review tab. We know things happen, so if you ever need to reactivate a file, you can always bring this right on back to that status, that pending or expired status. And of course, if you do have a cancellation for any reason, those will land here in your Canceled Contracts tab. We'll go ahead and keep them safe in case you ever need to reactivate or resume your progress at a later time. All right, guys, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Again, we'd like to keep these sessions nice and quick. Just a quick recap. I'll bring my slides back up before I'll pose a little bit of a challenge for you forward. So in today's session, we had a chance to highlight the types of files in SkySlope, really taking a look at the difference between that status and that stage. We talked about enabling stages there so that you can assign them out, be a little bit clearer on who's reviewing what or where this property file is in review. It's your choice as an admin, of course, when to close out those files. So you can either choose to push out those dates so your status reflects as either active or pending, or you can choose to allow them to expire. We'll notify your agent that there's work to be done and that date has passed. Or you can also choose to put them in that closed to be archived section. A great spot just for your own safekeeping. You can easily reference the files that you're still working on, that are still going through that review process. And you still have the option there to notify your agents of any changes or required documents that you still need, even if that date has passed. Post-close, you'll find those forms, or I should say, you'll find those files in your archives where they will live timelessly here for you during your stay with SkySlope. And then, of course, your canceled contracts. If you have anything that happened to fall through, you can always reactivate and move forward with your progress. So with that, guys, I'll just pose a quick challenge for you. Now that you have the understanding of the status and what factors play into making those changes, it's time for some end of year prep. We are right in the middle of October, and I cannot believe that the holidays are right around the corner. And we know that business tends to, I'm going to say slow down, but we're going to knock on wood. We know it's been crazy this year. We do know business tends to slow down a little bit during the holiday season. So now that you know, you can update those documents by simply correcting that escrow date or close date. You can go ahead and take a moment, review if you have any expired expired listings there or expired transactions as well within your own SkySlope account. Reach out to those agents that you need to collect a few extra documents from and really start the new year off on the right foot. So with that, guys, I'll go ahead and hang out here for another 10 minutes or so, ensure all of our questions are answered. I'll hop on over to questions now, but if you are feeling good, again, I pose this knowledge test for you to go ahead and give this a try in your own account. And I also hope to see you at some more of our masterclasses. So we're really excited to bring this series back for you. You can expect a very similar format for each week. We'll do a quick dive, highlight the things that you need to know, and we'll get you right on out of here. So if you do choose to hop off, enjoy the rest of your day. Happy sky sloping.